Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and I love any makeup, especially shiny, shifty, and sparkly eyeshadows. And today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and I'm going to be actually recreating the newest 3 palettes that Urban Decay just launched. It's the Foxy palette, the Half Baked palette, and the Sin palettes. So Urban Decay doesn't usually really appeal to me anyways. But I really feel like these were just extra disappointing because the covers are super fun. The model's makeup is pretty edgy in style. It's not just like a, 2 eyeshadow kind of blended crease. It looks like it's supposed to be a little bit more fun, a little out of the box. And the inside color stories of those palettes just do not reflect those at all. They look like some of the palettes have some similar shades that look like they're going to be almost the same. And also Urban Decay shimmers aren't really anything that I've heard anyone ever rave about. But that's just going off of other people's experiences. I personally haven't bought an Urban Decay palette since I don't even remember last time I bought one. I think it was one of the Naked Heat or something like that, and those shimmers were really just mediocre. So I'm going to be creating my own versions. It's going to be a 9-pan palette, so it is going to have 3 more shades than their palettes, and I did do these on my TikTok actually, so I kind of showed you the process of going through my collection and just picking and choosing the shades. I did make slight modifications because I did reuse a couple of shades between the palettes actually, as well as just some other modifications after looking at the palettes. Now I unfortunately do not have time to create looks with these palettes. I did a look with 2 out of the 3 palettes, but I didn't film it. I just did it just to test the color stories, and that is also partially why I made some adjustments. So let's start, and I'm going to be showing you some swatches of these and the shades and why I chose them. So first up is probably my favorite palette out of the 3 that I did, which is the Foxy palette, but it's also because I do really love my greens. Now there is a mixture of tones here, which is actually really funny because a lot of people on TikTok were like, where's the green? But it's because there's multi-chromes. There's just some more subtle greens in here, and I want it to be a little bit more versatile and not just fully green. And personally, to me, olive is green, but I digress. So the first shade that I chose was Moonmoss from Shroud Cosmetics. And this is just a beautiful, like, grungy green shade. It's got a little bit of depth to it, so it's not too light. And that's why I really like that one, and I love the tone of it. And then I chose Phoenix because it has like a fieriness to it, and I thought it would pair well with some of these other shades in here. And this one would be really fun to layer over some of the mattes in this palette. Next up is Torment, which is a beautiful orange shade from Leigh Cosmetics, and this one will pair really nicely with Phoenix as well as the center yellow shade. I just realized I had the palette flipped wrong way, but I'm going to be flipping the footage. So next up is Earthshine. This is just a grassy toned neutral. And I'm saying neutral because it's not an overpowering green. It definitely leans it to be a bit more versatile, so you could definitely pair this with some more neutral shades as well. And then onto the yellow. I knew I wanted a yellow because yellow just pairs really well with greens and any type of really tone of green, but also the orange in here, so they could kind of work together. And this is Banana Cream from Glam Shop. Next up is Freya from Devinah Cosmetics. And I wanted something that was a little bit more brownish, but still had a grungy olive almost tone to it. But it also does look it has like a little bit of a warmer orange tone. So I really feel like this one will be especially versatile with just all the other mattes in here. Next up is Phenomenon, which is a black-based multi-chrome, and this one is also from Devinah. And I just love this one so much. It gives you that depth that you could use with the shade right next to it. But also it has a really beautiful, grungy, olivey green tone to it that I love. And I definitely knew I wanted a darker shimmer in here. So next up from Leigh is Nocturnal, which is a dark, cooler toned brown. And the reason I didn't choose a really deep green is actually because, one, I'm pretty limited with the matte single eyeshadows that I have, but also I just wanted to be a little bit more versatile with deepening up with something that will pair with all these tones. Obviously it is a little cooler tone for the orange, but I do think that it could work with it as well. And then the last shade is Corrosion, which is from Clionadh Cosmetics, and this shade I just thought was perfect because it has a brownish base to it and a green reflect. It is a multi-chrome, so I thought it would pair really nicely with the brown, with the orange, with the yellow, with the green. Really just such a versatile shade because it is not like fully dark based like the Devinah multi-chrome, so that makes it like super versatile. So here is my final version of the Foxy palette from Urban Decay. Next up, onto the Sin palette, I did make a couple of modifications, including this one right here. This used to be a little bit more of like a mid-tone mauve shade, and I switched it out for more of a red shade to really just play off of the Sin theme. I could have made this a little bit more even monochromatic, but I did throw in that pink, but we'll get to it. So first up is Vermillion from Devinah Cosmetics. This is a multi-chrome shade, and it is just super, super bright. And it does have a pink to peach shift, and I thought that this one would layer really nicely with a lot of these mattes in here. Next up is Quicksand, which is from Leigh Cosmetics. And this is a more peachy tone pink, so kind of playing off of Vermillion a bit. The red shade is llithyia from Devinah Cosmetics, and this one actually has hard pan on me a couple of times, so it's not really greatest. So it's not really great to swatch. But this one is a little bit more like magenta. It looks pretty red in the pan, but it does kind of apply a bit more magenta. That is kind of the best I can do with that swatch, unfortunately. Next up is Remission, also from Leigh Cosmetics. And I wanted something lighter to blend out the edges of these two shades. Pink, which will pair greatly with the center pink, which is N16 from Bernovich. Just gonna pop that right here. This palette is, I say it a little bit matte heavy, I guess, kind of. This is just a really, really bright Barbie pink. Next up is Jupiter's Inferno, and this is from Terra. This is a multi-chrome, and this is a very, very dark multi-chrome shade, and that's why I thought it was perfect. It really gives me Sin vibes because it is just so grungy and dark. Next up is Pink Flare, which is from Devinah Cosmetics, and this is a super, super shiny shimmer with a pink tint to it. So I wanted something that wasn't like super, super pink, but it just gave that little hint. But it would be really versatile in a palette, which is why I put this shade from Devinah in this palette as well as the other palette. Next up is Frantic from Leigh Cosmetics, and this is the darkest shade in here. Ideally, I would really want even darker reddish tone matte eyeshadow, but my matte eyeshadow collection is just not as huge as my shimmer collection, so I was a little bit restricted in that sense. And then last up is 20th, and this is from Touch of Glam Beauty. I wanted something super, super light, and it has just a hint of pink, but it is also multi-chrome, so it shifts to like a yellow. And this one I thought for the inner corner highlight to balance everything out, and something that would pair really well with all the other shades in this palette. So here is my take on the Sin palette. Last one, we have the Half Baked palette, and I'm also super excited about this one. I really like the way this one came out. So first up is Geese Allaying. This one I had to switch out because I had Banana Cream in here from Glam Shop, but it was in the other palette, so I had to find a similar yellow. So this one is pretty close to that, and I love that one. This one is Fairy Fire from Devinah, and I just love this one. It has like a yellow base to it, but it has purple, green, blue in it, and I just thought it would be really fun to throw in here, just a little bit of a curveball, if you will. And then next is Amber Dusk, and this one is from Terra. Of course, had to put in a nice orange in here to pair with everything else. A little bit of a brighter orange, and then Nemesis from Devinah. Wanted something a little bit darker and warmer toned. Majesty from Clionadh. I had to put in a bright, bright orange to pair with the bright matte. Next up is Champagne Wasted from Kristen Leigh Cosmetics. I wanted something that would be just a little bit more on the neutral side, but it does lean a little bit gold. But I thought it would be like a good addition in here if you wanted to go for something a little bit more like subtle, which I don't really think this palette is that subtle, but you know what I mean. And then next up is Sun Scorched from Terra. This shade was just so perfect for this palette. It's a darker shimmer, it's a multi-chrome, and I just love the tones of it. I think they play really well with the other mattes in here. Next up is Harvest from Sydney Grace, and I just wanted another orangey matte that wasn't like a typical orange. This is more like a burnt orange, almost leaning red. And then last up, I did add a black eyeshadow in here. This is Karma from Devinah, And I just think that this one would really deepen up everything really nicely, but also, again, I was a little restricted with the matte eyeshadows I have available in my collection, so I wanted something to deepen up with without it being like a super dark neutral brown. Of course, I could have used the matte eyeshadow I think that was in here, this one right here. I feel like that one might go well with this palette, even though it is a little cooler tone, so maybe not. But I feel like this one was a good addition. So here is my final take on the Half Baked palette. After building the palettes and swatching them out, I definitely saw some similarities with other palettes that might be already existing. For example, this palette right here definitely reminds me of Gemini 420, as well as, what is that, Tropical palette from Ace Beauté, one of their more recent ones, but with less shades and multi-chromes. I think that's something that you will just not really find in many palettes, is some multi-chromes, specifically more mainstream brands. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Maybe this will spark some ideas, and if you have some similar shades, you can definitely rebuild these palettes if you like any of them. And if you'd like to see more custom palette creations, then check out my TikTok. I will definitely be posting a bit more on there, as well as some existing videos I already have. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, I would love it if you subscribe. There's so much indie makeup content uploading my channel and much more to come. You don't want to miss out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.